first reading from the prophet Ezekiel is one of the most important passages in the entire Old Testament, promising God's people the permanent gift of the Holy Spirit, who up to that time had been kind of sent as and when needed, so to speak, on specific people. After God had given his people the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, it became increasingly obvious that the people were simply not able to keep these laws. Although they were in many ways quite moderate laws, that inner rebellion which remains in our hearts makes it very difficult for us to keep God's laws sincerely. And so after many painful experiences in which the people were punished and then exiled, God gave his solution to this problem, as it were, that he would put his Holy Spirit in our hearts, making us keep God's law, not simply because we ought to, but because we genuinely want to, even though it may still be a struggle. Now here is an interesting fact. If you look at the teaching of Christ, the commandments that Christ gives us, they're actually far harder than the Ten Commandments, because he tells us not just to avoid murder and adultery, for example, but to make sure that our very hearts do not entertain such thoughts, that we forgive our enemies, that we give freely to those who ask of us. Very few Christians really believe in the Holy Spirit, or have discovered the gift of the Holy Spirit. But without the Holy Spirit, these laws are a burden to us. Hence the whole problem of what is often referred to rather derogatory way as Catholic guilt. If you don't know about the Holy Spirit, or if the Holy Spirit is not active in you, then the burdens of the law of Christ will simply produce in you a sense of guilt of never being good enough. And so that Holy Spirit, which has been given to us in our baptism and especially in our confirmation, needs to be, as it were, awakened in us, or fanned into a flame, as St. Paul puts it somewhere. And we do this by frequently praying for the Holy Spirit. Every time we come to Mass, every time we sit down to pray, every time we have difficult decisions to make or important work to do, we should say to ourselves, with my own strength, this is completely impossible, but with the strength that the Holy Spirit gives,